Good morning, good afternoon, or good chilly evening. I'm Cyclone. It's time for more Let's Play Train Simulator Classic. And I say chilly evening because Christmas is coming. We're within a week before we're around the Christmas tree with relatives randomly opening stuff that we don't need. That's basically what's coming up. And we're going to celebrate that week this week. We're going to celebrate the upcoming Christmas this week, I should say, by looking at a four-part scenario on the Western Lines of Scotland. Now, you might be, first of all, you're going to notice this. Yes, I pre-taped this because there's a reason for this I'm going to explain later. We're going to look at that scenario and a few others later on. But I couldn't hide all of them from the menu because I wanted to show one in the that area when I do that. So I'll talk about that later. That's not something we're going to look at today. What I decided I wanted to do is I wanted to do a set of Christmas scenarios, and a friend of mine online mentioned that he was doing a set of Christmas scenarios on Western Lines of Scotland using the Class 50, and I thought, well, I haven't shown off the Class 50 either. But I also haven't been to Sell to Carlisle yet, which is where the scenarios take place for that, and I'm not going to be there for a while. So I figured this is probably, and I don't know how long a while it is, but at least not for the next month or two or three anyway, probably. So I thought this is a good chance to at least show off the Class 50, and then I can come back to it later on when I properly introduce it. And I also showed the Armstrong Powerhouse version at that time. So we are going to look at the default Class 50. I'm going to leave it as a default Class 50 in all four scenarios. But you can use the Armstrong Powerhouse one in these scenarios if you want to. These are scenarios that are available on the Steam Workshop. You will find them under, I think it's Highball Simulations. I think is how you say it. I'm just going to verify that very quickly. Yeah, Highball Simulations is who posted them. And we're going to look at the first of those four today. And I'm going to be publishing these four scenarios as my final videos leading up to Christmas. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday is Christmas Eve. The date of these scenarios is on Christmas Eve. We'll talk about that more. About what we're doing on this in a moment, because there is some interesting detail to talk about with this scenario. So let's read the description. In an alternate timeline, well, now it says it for me, in an alternate timeline where the Port Road didn't fall victim to the beaching axe, the Stranraer to Dumfries line has become a critical passenger and freight artery in western Scotland, largely serving the substantial passenger and container port of Stranraer, which, by the way, is still there today. An ever-familiar sight is the boat trains that run semi-fast either to or from Carlisle. Today is Christmas Eve 1975, and again, it spoiled what I want to say. Although Christmas Day is almost upon us, considerable numbers of people still need to travel to get to where they want to spend the holidays, obviously. A ship from Belfast has just docked with a considerable number of passengers heading for England. It falls to you to work a boat train heading for Carlisle, and get these passengers to their destinations. In Part 1, you will work between Stranraer and Newton Stewart. Mode of power throughout is a Class 50 diesel, and I mentioned that already. Yet to, I think this is phrased wrong, so I'll point this out. I think it's a spelling and grammar error, but yet to repainted into BR Blue, probably yet to be repainted into BR Blue, but I will point that out. And I'll leave it at that. I have made one other edit to the stereo, which I'll show you as we go along, but it's just a very minor edit, nothing major. This is mostly what you're going to see on the Steam Workshop. Let's get started. Good afternoon. Let's start by opening the doors and letting the passengers from the boat on board. We should be cleared to depart at 1300. Okay, doors are opened. Now, I still kind of want to give you a train tour, and I probably should have started with that, but I didn't. Oh well, my fault. I didn't want to do that. I want to get in the cab. So we're going to bring up the information. I'll also bring up the HUD first before I bring up the information. We have 5 minutes to wait. Actually, you know what? We have time for a train tour. Let's do a very quick train tour. I'm not going to push any buttons here, except where absolutely necessary. So let's first make sure. I'm going to go down to where the train brake is, which is way down in this area down here. This is the train brake right here. Locomotive brake, and there's also a, actually the train brake is the higher one. This is the train brake right here. So we're going to make sure, and the train is at 60%, so I can probably do a little bit of movement here. You can see that as I move the brake, it seems to be a smooth brake. It's not a notched brake. It's changing to whatever number randomly I end up stopping on. So it's a smooth brake, not a notched brake. That's nice to see. I'm not going to use locomotive brake probably. We have a speedometer, which is for some reason way up here in the corner. It's supposedly up here in the corner. I just don't know exactly where it is on this side, but the speedometer is somewhere up here, apparently. Oh, no, it's down here. Sorry, it's somewhere down here. I can't see it very well, but it's apparently in here. Is there a cab light? No, I can't turn the cab light on. So I can't really see exactly where it is, but supposedly the speedometer is in this area right here, above this AWS reset. This is the AWS reset. So the speedometer is apparently in the spot up here. You just can't see it very well. Hopefully we'll get a look at it later. But in the meantime, I can also point out the wiper switches, which are down here somewhere. Actually, this thing right here. That's the wiper switch. So there we go. You see it moving? There's a train coming in. We should see who that is, shouldn't we? Not going to tell me now. Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. That's a Class 101 coming in. That's a train that was heading here for Stranraer Harbour, obviously. We'll look at that in a second, too. We have a three-way horn, apparently, on this train. So we have multiple noises here. And that horn, by the way, is this thing right here. So we'll blow it again. Further over here, we have the reverser, which, by the way, you have to push down for the reverser to get it set. So it goes down into forward. You do have a reset on it. Then it goes to engine only neutral, and then to reverse. So fully up is off. So you can't push up to get to the reverser forward. You have to actually push down to get to it. Next set is obviously speedometer. We're not going to do anything with that yet, but I'll just do a quick movement. That is a speedometer. It is a 4-notch speedometer, I believe, as well. There's a couple more things I'll point out. The engine buttons, which are red is on, or sorry, red is the red button is engine off. The green button is engine on. So you can see the buttons next on either side of that red light there. I think the red light means the engine is on. And one last thing I think I'm going to be pointing out here is, sorry, I stand corrected. The speedometer is actually in here. I don't know what it was I was looking at. Oh, the AWS Sunflower. That's what that is. There it is. The speedometer is obviously down here. You can see other pressure gauges. I don't know if any of them work. But there you go. That's a quick train tour. I'll go ahead and take a quick look at the Class 101 at this point, because this was the thing that I made a slight change on. So I'm going to pop out of the cab. The 101 I made a slight... Is it still here? Oh, it is. I made a slight change on this, and the thing I changed was to set the destination on it. So I don't know if the destination actually works. Yeah, it does. That's Stranraer Harbour. This was a Class 101, you can actually set a custom destination. So you can put whatever destination you wanted on this train. Great amount of versatility as far as the Class 101 has. That was the change I made in this scenario, just changing that to show you that. I don't think the regular scenario that Highball has actually put that in, and the destination on the train is actually incorrect, I believe, because as he said to me, he didn't know how to change it. Whether he's going to change it, I don't know, but I told him how to do it, so it's up to him if he decides he wants to change it. But I've changed it on my copy, and that's good to go as far as I'm concerned on my end. All I had to do was change it to a letter O, and it worked. So there you go. In the meantime, we're waiting for departure. It's almost time. Let's take a quick look at our train, because I need a thumbnail. So let's do that very quickly. All aboard! Please keep a close eye on the signals. The engineers are yet to finish upgrading the port road with AWS track magnets. Do we have any track magnets? Is Carlisle at least set? Probably not. In any case, leaving Stranraer Harbour, our first stop is actually going to be the Junction gate. I don't know if this is I imagine this is a cruise stop, because it's not a passenger station. So I imagine this is some kind of a cruise stop. Maybe it is considered to have turned into a passenger station at some point, but it's more likely a cruise stop. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we get a stop there. We are pulling away at a speed limit of 20 miles per hour. We're going to do our best not to exceed that. I'm actually coming very close to it already. This train speeds up better than I expected. So something we're going to see along the set of scenarios here as I idle the throttle. Something we're going to see here is a good number of domino light and head code indicator boxes on some of the passing locomotives. The European Loco and Asset Pack does provide multiple variants of the Class 37. That's an example of that. We're actually going to see the both variants, or 3 different variants, one of them in green, but the other 2 are BR blue. We're going to see all of those on Class 37s. There are also going to be other trains with domino and domino and head code variants as well. So we're going to see different types of locomotives along here. Examples of trains we're going to see a Class 25, a Class 47, of course, because that's pretty much the train of the era. We saw 101 already. We're going to see a 31-1. We're going to see a Class 03, and that's just this scenario. So we're going to talk a little bit later about the various requirements for the scenarios. It's the same set of requirements for all 4 scenarios. So if you can play one of these scenarios, you can play all 4 of them. And you're not going to have any issue with anything missing as long as you can play any one of the scenarios with everything in that scenario. It's the same set of requirements. The trains inside each scenario are going to differ slightly. For example, Scenario 2 is going to have some Class 37s. Now, with a number of the trains in these scenarios, you can substitute other models if you wish to. We'll talk about that later. Let's worry right now about making our stop coming up here, as we do have Stranraer Harbour Junction gate up ahead. I should be going as high as 30 right now, but we do have a 20 after the gate. No, that's after the stop, so I probably could have just gone 30 right now and been happy with it. Now, we do have AWS magnets here on the end where Stranraer Harbour looks like. So you heard that little ding? We do have AWS on that signal. We are good with AWS on some of these signals. I don't know if the Port Road is actually programmed around this area to have that normally. Again, I haven't tried doing that yet. All the scenarios in the Port Road DLC use the Black 5. So, needless to say, I don't know if we're going to... I'm sure, surely that train doesn't have AWS in it. But I don't know if any other trains will respond to AWS on this route or not. I honestly do not know. It might be something that was just added for this route. And that may be what it is. I don't know the details. In any case, I'm going to pull the train up fully into the orange, and then I'm going to come to a stop here. That will facilitate our stop. You can see people standing by out here. I'm going to assume that's our crew. They're just waiting to get on board. I'm going to pull fully into the orange if I can. A little more notch of power, please. That's going to have to do because the train's going to fail me otherwise. Why am I going backwards? Leaving Stranraer Harbour Junction gate. We did get our checkbox, so we are good to go. Let's move. Now, I guess we were on a downhill or an uphill gradient there. I didn't realize it. So what I really should have done is if I had noticed I was on an uphill gradient, I should have applied a little bit of power first and then released the brake, and I would have ensured I didn't roll backwards by doing that. Now we're now in a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit for the junction that we are crossing. We're going to go ahead and lower our throttle down to a minimal level because I want to still increase, but I don't want to go high enough that we potentially speed at this point. So now we're on notch number 2. It looks like a 7-notch throttle because I'm at 28%. So that suggests a 7-notch throttle at this point. It'll go to 42, then 57, then 71, then 85, and then 100, something like that. We can check that in a moment, actually. So we're going to go to 42, 57, good so far. 85, yep, 100. Got it exactly correct. So we're entering a 60, and as we're getting up to speed, now I'll go ahead and I'll talk a little bit about some of the things related to these scenarios, namely the requirements. So there are 5 requirements for this scenario. One of them is Western Lines of Scotland. Duh. That's where we're driving. The second is the Michael Whiteley Class 50. Duh, that's what I'm driving. Getting kind of a rut here. So let's ease the throttle back a little bit because I don't want to speed too much into the speed limit. So the next requirement is the BR Blue Loco Pack. That includes 5 different locomotives that I've been able to identify. I think there's 5 or 6 that come in the pack. I think it is actually only 5. There could be 6. I'm forgetting about one. But all 5 that I know of are in this route, in these scenarios. We're going to see the Class 25 in this scenario. We're going to see the Class 31 Type 1 in this scenario. We're going to see the Class 03 Shunter. We actually saw it at Stranraer Harbour. I don't know if you're paying attention. I didn't catch it myself. But we'll see it again in other scenarios too, so not a big deal. We have a 40 coming up, so I'm going to ease the throttle off to a minimal level, actually, because I'm losing a lot of speed quickly there. So we're also going to be seeing at some point the Class 101 in the BR Blue variant. We saw the grey one, which is the standalone DLC at the station. We're also going to be seeing the Class 105 at some point. So all 5 trains are going to show up across the 4 scenarios. The British Rail Class 101 appears in BR Grey variant. We don't have the Strathclyde or the Regional Railways variants, which were also part of the original Class 101 pack, which, by the way, you don't need that pack either. Just the standalone one that is currently available. Now, the downside, or the upside of that is if you don't have that, it's only an AI train. You're only going to have AI with it. You're not going to have a train coming in at the start of this scenario. Basically, it's things like that. You're not going to have that train coming in as a scenic part of the scenario, starting out the scenario, and there might be 1 or 2 that block away later on that you don't see. I don't know. I don't know what the details are because I haven't played the scenarios yet. But I don't believe it's a necessary, absolutely necessary item if you don't have it. And if you don't have the grey one, just substitute the one from the BR Blue pack. It's as simple as that. Just put the BR Blue one in and use that. It's an alternate era. Who cares? It's an alternate era. We can put whatever we want in here. Just act like it's a storyline. So we can do that. So if you don't have the British Rail Class 101 pack, use the BR Blue one in its place. That's fine. Local swap it and get it in there. I don't want to increase the rank yet. What am I doing? So we're going into a 40 right now, which is going to eventually give way to another 60. I meant, back to the requirements, there's one more requirement. That's the European Local and Asset Pack. That'll give us several Class 37s, a Class 47. Now, you may be thinking, hey, psych, this is all old stock. Well, as we pass Castle Kennedy, by the way. You might be thinking, this is all old stock. Why would we want to use this old stock? Well, let's just be a little blunt when I say this, because this is to get people, and this is, by the way, the scenario creator's own words. He wants to get people able to play these scenarios without needing a mammoth number of requirements. So he has made scenarios using things like trains from Steam Sound Supreme before. He's used Armstrong Powerhouse models. He's posted some stuff on ATS, in fact, that I look at and I'm like, I can't touch that, because I just don't have the stock for it, and there's just so much stock out of change that's not worth it by that point, in some cases. So this is an attempt to make it possible for people to ease into a scenario that doesn't have a lot of stock. If you want to, you can actually update some of the stock yourself. This Class 50 that I'm driving, for example, let's take another look at it. This Class 50, without the trees, you can actually replace this with the Armstrong Powerhouse Class 50, and by doing that, you have a much different driving experience with the Armstrong Powerhouse version of the train rather than the one that comes on Steam. So you can do that. There's the Steam coming out the top, by the way. So there is that option. Now, if you want to replace it, you can do that for just one scenario. You can do it for all 4 scenarios. I'm not going to do it for these scenarios. Not because I don't want to drive the train, but because I'm going to do that when I actually drive the scenarios on sale to Carlisle. So that's when I'm going to do the proper introduction to Class 50. Even though you're going to see a good preview of it now, at this time, this week, we're going to see it properly on the settled Carlisle route at some point. And I'm going to go ahead and sub it into 1 or 2 scenarios there, maybe even all of them, depending on whether it works better or whether it's slower or whatever the case may be. So I may put it on a number of the scenarios on sale to Carlisle and use it there. You're going to get a chance to see it. So this will be our introduction to the base model, and I'm going to be able to upgrade it sooner. So it's actually good for you guys to see the base model now, and I can upgrade it later. Now, other things you can change around. If you don't have the BR Blue pack, you can substitute the 25 from Weardale Teesdale, which was actually going to be a DLC for this set, but he decided not to. You can substitute the 101, the standalone 101, for the 101 in the BR Blue pack as well, like the one we saw at the station. We're going to get our speed down to 60 because now we're entering the part that is no longer open. So the 25, the 03 I think appears at Doncaster Works, so you can substitute Doncaster Works 03 in if you need to. I know, it's one that I got for $2. I got it cheap because during a sale they made it 90% off, so I got it for $2. Steal of the year, am I right? The 31-1 I believe is also a standalone DLC. You can substitute that as well with the Class 31 from that standalone DLC. I need to get down to 40. Let's just jam this thing down. Heavy brake. We're going via Dunragit. And I didn't get to the 105, but the 105 also has a standalone DLC. So all the trains that are in the BR Blue Pack, they do have replacement options. Of course, all 5 replacement options cost a lot more than the BR Blue Pack. So if you're missing 2 or 3 of those, just get the BR Blue Pack. It'll do. You'll be okay. You got a bunch of 2 trains with it. It's good to do. Good to use. Now, going to the Class 37 in the European Loco and Asset Pack, you may know there's a Class 37 from Armstrong Powerhouse. I still intend to introduce that to you as a player train. We've already driven the Kuju one. I think maybe another one as well. But we still have the Armstrong Powerhouse version to get to. And I have a very, very specific plan for that I think you're going to enjoy. And I'm going to go ahead and get that set up, and we're going to go ahead and drive that at some point as well. It's going to be on one of the older routes when we do drive it. So I'm not going to spoil it beyond that for right now. Unless I've told you what personally as a contact what it is I'm thinking of doing, you probably don't know. And probably would not be able to guess. You're going to like what I'm doing, I think. I hope. Maybe. Possibly. Stay tuned for the 37 AP at some point. AP 37, I should say. Because that is coming up probably within the next 3 months, I would say. Maybe even sooner. Now, and that's after Christmas, of course. I'm not going to count next week because I'm debating what I want to do next week. We'll see. So we're coming into a 50-mile-per-hour speed limit right now. I think the Ayr line is going to be leaving us right now. That's the line heading to Ayr. And if we follow that line in the DLC... Oops, I didn't catch I was going over. If we follow that line right now, it's going to go to a buffer because that line is not part of this DLC. Only the western line of Scotland is. So we're going to... I don't think that line even exists in the game yet. That line doesn't exist anywhere in the game. Another note, we absolutely need that line in the game. We need to have the line to Ayr and back up to Glasgow Central in this game. It is absolutely necessary. It is an excellent service, has 4 different electric locos that can drive along it. There's a couple of branch lines you can use. It would be a fantastic network to have in the game. At least get the lines to Ayr in the game. We need it. And then, of course, if you continue all the way to Stranraer, from Glasgow Central to Ayr and then to Stranraer, you can add the Class 156 as well because that's the one that patrols that line in that portion of the route. So we absolutely need that. We have 40 coming up, which is part of the reason I'm idling right now. So we're going to see if I can get down to 40 in time. And of course, the other thing I didn't mention here was the Class 47, which there's a freeware pack of UK train sim with a whole boatload of variants. Needless to say, we're just going to use the ones that are in the pack because they all rely on the Kuju one anyways. There is a sound pack that used to be available from Armstrong Powerhouse. If you have it, and I think I do. I don't remember if I got that one or not. But if you have it, then I think I did, though. I'm just not using it right now. If you do have it, you can install that, and it will work with the trains in this scenario because it is the Kuju pack that it's based on. It might work on the Network Southeast ones as well. I'm not 100% sure. The ones that DPG made, but it may not. So that's a bit about the trains that are needed for this route. By the way, one more note, and this was something I talked about with the scenario maker as well, with Highball Simulations. He was talking to me about how the HSTs were coming into service around this time. I actually did a little research on this, and the HSTs apparently entered service in 1976. As this is December 24th of 1975, they're not in service yet. So even in this alternate era, we cannot bring the HSTs into these scenarios. There's no HSTs on this route in this set of scenarios. So don't expect them. They would not fit the time period for this scenario. Nor would they fit on the basic route either. So we're not going to talk about that. 50-mile-per-hour section coming up. Also, a little note about the era that we're driving this scenario in, even though it's the fake timeline for this area. The era in question featured exclusively local hauled trains on the West Coast Main Line. I think electric service had not gone all the way along the line yet. So services were locomotive hauled. Express passenger services were tackled by Class 50s, on the West Coast Main Line, I believe, as well, is what I think he told me. I don't know. I'm going by what I think he told me. And apparently stoppers and semi-fast services were done by Class 47s. So this is why we're seeing a few Class 50s in these scenarios. There's going to be more Class 50s along the way. But we're also going to see a large number of 47s, which represent the semi-fast and stopper services. So 47s are very prevalent in this set of scenarios, probably for that very reason. But again, this is a fictional setup because this route doesn't exist in 1975. He could do whatever he wanted to on this. He could say that Class 31s were in all the services that he wanted to. If he wanted to do that, he could do that. But he chose to keep it similar to what the West Coast Main Line was back then, and that probably is a better idea. Probably a very good idea. There's a 60 mile per hour speed limit up ahead, so I'm going to start increasing my speed closer to 50 right now. We might have already passed Glenluce. I didn't notice, but we might have already passed it. Yeah, we were definitely past it. We're heading to Kirkcowan. Kirkcowan is 7 miles away. I think Glenluce was actually one of our waypoints. Yeah, there it was right there. That was our waypoint back there. So we're going to make our stop at Kirkcowan. We're going to stop at Stewart, and that's where we're going to be timed for 1350. One of the reasons that we have a timing on the arrival stops at the end of the route, by the way, at the end of the scenario, is because the next scenario starts several minutes later. I noticed that there's a 5-minute gap on scenario 1 into scenario 2 and scenario 2 into scenario 3. I don't remember about scenario 3 and 4, but I noticed the first couple changeovers are 5-minute gaps. We get to have a 5-minute break, and then the scenario starts 5 minutes after the scheduled stop time of the previous scenario in these cases. So we're going to be going ahead and hopping in 5 minutes after we stop and we go into part 2. So it'll be 13:55 when the next scenario starts, and then however long that goes, that'll be 14 or 15, whatever. That's what's going to happen here. Fun little fact about the Class 50, by the way. For those who are not familiar with this pack, and I think Armstrong Powerhouse probably does this as well. I don't know because I haven't driven it yet. But on this pack, at least, every Class 50 name or number and nameplate combination has been created. So, for example, he actually lists them in the manual. If you were to set up class number 50045, you're going to be driving Achilles. If you set up 50027, you're going to be driving the Lion. All of these are created for this DLC, and you can drive them all in this DLC. And something I should have mentioned at the start of this scenario, if you've driven this route before, you're looking at the track up ahead and saying, that doesn't look right, that looks different. Well, I don't know how to tell the difference very well, to be honest with you, but apparently what was suggested for me to do by Highball was to actually go and download from I'm going to get the proper website name for next time because I didn't think of writing this down. Golden Age Developments, I believe, is what the name is. I don't know the exact website URL off the top of my head, but it's something like Golden Age or Golden Goldsmith or something like that. Developments. If I remember, I will put the information into the text box to appear on the screen for you here, if I remember to do that. But there is a patch that you can use with Western Lines of Scotland, and also with 4 other routes. Riviera Line is another one of them. I think Radio T-Dales might be another one. You can actually change out all of the track on the route, all the way along the route, and replace it with a different set of track. That set of track would be from the Vulcan Productions track pack. We're going through another station. Is this a station? I can't tell if this is a station. No, that's not a station. I was trying not to speed, and I started speeding because I didn't catch I was on the uphill. Okay. Professional driving, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get ourselves out of the speed limit. We're going to watch ourselves here. I'm holding the iPad and trying to get some information for you at the same time. That's why I'm speeding. Please forgive my lack of professionalism right now. You may not arrest me, officer. I have not committed a crime. We're going to see how this works right now. So I don't think we've seen it yet, but actually no, Kirkcowan is the next station. There are no other stations before Kirkcowan. That's what I was trying to look up. So I forgot that Glenluce was the last station before Kirkcowan. Okay, that was unnecessary speeding on my part because I didn't really have to look up anything there. In any case, what I was trying to say a moment ago is I changed out all the track using the Vulcan Productions track pack and that patch. Actually, a user named Harry, I think I know who he is too. A user named Harry made that patch for several routes. And I'm using that patch right now, so we're seeing that in operation at this time. Kirkcowan is now about 3 1/3 miles away. Now, for anyone who might be commenting that you thought I wanted to show off everything in vanilla form when I introduce it, don't worry, we're still going to do that. You saw that I had the Ire line scenario taped, and that scenario, I'm going to tell you right now, starts on that junction that went off earlier, where the buffer ends behind it, and it continues into Stranraer Harbour. So we don't see the rest of the closed line at all. We just see the part that's still open in that scenario. That and other scenarios, which I'm not going to mention right now that I've played, are going to use the default track. And I decided to do it in a way that we saw as much of the default track as possible. I decided to exclude the Carlisle to Dumfries segment because that's part of the that's basically. I probably could have kept that part, done that part as well with another scenario that goes between those two, but I only want to do 4 scenarios because that's my normal week, and I didn't want to do a 5th scenario in a week, so I just left it at the 4, did as much as I could reasonably, and we're going to see all of the track from those 4 scenarios at the default track. We're not going to do that with Dumfries to Carlisle. We're going to leave the track there upgraded. We're going to assume that the track was upgraded before we actually played the scenario along that area, and it makes sense that's more of a major area, and that area is still open, so we can act like that area is still open, because it is. So we have a 50 followed by 25 coming up. You can see our stop is indeed coming up. We are going to have to come to a stop up ahead. So cutting to 25 is not a bad thing, especially because that's the junction we're going to be crossing, I believe. So we have to stay on 25 along that junction. Looks like whatever line we end up on is going to be, we're not going to have a limit on that. It looks like we're going to go straight up to 50, I believe. After the station is what it looks like. So if we look ahead on the destinations here, you can see that 7 miles away is Newton Stewart. Yeah, we have a lot of time for this scenario. We're not going to have a problem with time on this scenario, I don't think. I don't think I pointed out a couple of other trains along the way either. Back at Castle Kennedy, we saw train number 47162, a static train that was hanging around there. We saw back at the Dunragit oil head shunt, we would have seen number 25098. No, sorry, that's 25088 that we would have seen there. Whitehorn Branch has 25098 on it. I think that's actually up ahead, so I don't think we've seen that one yet. Let's get a heavy brake on to get to this 25. Very heavy brake, please. So you can see the lower signal is green. That means we're junctioning off to the left. And there's one more static train at Newton Stewart, which is actually the station we're going to be pulling into. So we're going to see 47293 hanging out in platform 1. We're going to be arriving there for probably in platform 2, since that's also a static train. There will be one more train that comes into service at about 1335. I don't know where it's starting, but it's showing as a 1335 start. What's over here? Nothing over here? No, it's just a platform. So that other service is going to be a combination of 31141 and 31133. That's going to be the BR Blue class 31 from the BR Blue pack. So I don't know where that is, and we're going to see that at some point. It may not even be moving by the time we reach it. We'll find out. Breaks off for a second. Now we're going to put them back on. We have a red. We're clearly not going to get this whole train in. We can't put the engine past the platform, so passengers are going to have to deal with it. We might have to tab past the signal, guys, but for now, let's open the doors. Actually, we don't even have to open the doors. We're just stopping here at Kirkcowan. Once the container train has passed, you will be cleared to depart for Newton Stewart. Make sure to position the engine before the signal before opening the doors. At Newton Stewart, that means, not now. So, yeah, this was a stop. This is a pickup. There you go. We're going to have to wait for a container train, and we don't see it yet. So how far away is this container train? Let's take a look. We are currently not there. Oh, it's actually not far away. It's just coming around the curve right now. So, oh, we're gonna be here for a while, guys. That's the train that hasn't actually started moving yet. I kind of wish now that he had put the train a little bit further back. I wish he started the train back here and he actually had it moving, so we would actually see it by this point. Because it's possible to arrive very, very early. As you see, I've arrived 7 minutes before it even starts moving. And there's nothing we can do for the time being. I could have left my chatter for right now. So now I don't know what to do for 7 minutes other than to say, let's take a look at a couple more pictures of the train and skip past the rest of this. Because that seems to be the best policy at this point, to skip ahead. So, yeah, I guess we'll take a look at the train a couple more times and then I'll see you up ahead. Leaving Kirkcowan, we're finally on our way again towards Newton Stewart. Stopping today actually at platform number 3. So I said we might be stopping at platform 2. It's actually platform 3 that we're going to be stopping at today. course, I've edited out the 5-6 minutes of waiting that I had to do there, so you're not going to have to wait with me. You're welcome. Easing the throttle back to a fairly neutral setting, which 14% might as well be neutral at this speed, but I seem to be gaining on it, interestingly enough. Probably because I'm on flat ground. We are entering a 60, however, so we can continue to gain. Nothing wrong with that. So for those not familiar, the name of this railroad was the Portpatrick and Wigtownshire Joint Railway. Now, it did start at Stranraer Harbour, so the part of the line that is still around today for the higher line, it is part of this railway as well. It's part of both railways. So it started from there, it continues along to where we are right now. And then as it gets towards Newton Stewart, it joins, or rather the line from Whithorn joins it. So the line coming from Whithorn will join, and we don't see any of that line. So the first station on that is Mains of Penningham. We're not going to see Mains of Penningham anywhere on this map. So that line does not really exist. Just the junction going off onto it does. Needless to say, that railway also does not exist anymore as of today. Because if the line leading to it is gone, how is anyone going to get to and from that line? Yeah, it's not there. It's not there anymore. Gone. Beeching did not like this part of the mountain, apparently. This part of Scotland. He had something against Scotland. He got rid of all the Scottish railways. How dare he? How dare he insult the Scots? That was my attempt at a Scottish accent. Sorry, I know it's bad. I'll stop. So after we get by Newton Stewart and into the next scenario, the line actually ends at Castle Douglas, which is where we're going to stop the second scenario. And then we're going to join a different railway at that point. The railway from Castle Douglas will be known as the Castle Douglas and Dumfries Railway, which makes sense because it goes through Dumfries. Why not? There are still a small number of stations that we're going to be going through on that part of the line as well before we actually get to Dumfries and then ultimately to Carlisle to end our journey. Now, I mentioned the Vulcan Productions track pack earlier. There's a truck, a lorry as they call it. I mentioned the track pack earlier, and another thing that was mentioned to me about this track pack is that apparently it also helps make it easier for trains to go around curves at a higher speed. Now, we should not be exceeding 60 anyway, but apparently even going up to 60, trains were still getting trains can still get derailed on the default track but going around a curve. I don't know how often that happens, but apparently it's happened. Supposedly, this track pack that I'm using now prevents that. I don't know to what extent or how, but I guess it adds a little bit of a tilt or something like that on the track to make it so that the trains can just fly along easier. So I guess a tilt that would have been in place on the real route was not simulated on the on Keith's, or was it Keith? I think it was Keith Ross on his. Downhills kill me, guys. I hate downhills. Let me just say that right now. But I guess his version of the route did not include. Again, you keep that on. His version of the route did not include the tilt, like enough tilt on the tracks to make it so that you would be able to fly along smoothly. And apparently, trains were derailing on the route. So I don't know details about that. I'm just going based on what I've been told by the person who suggested this patch. It looks like we don't have a really good smooth point to put the brakes here. We're going to have to jiggle it back and forth here to make sure we stay at the speed limit. But we are going to have a 40 coming up anyway, so we're going to have to take it down quite a bit anyway. Might as well just let it drop at this point. A little bit, not much, just a little bit. There are no stations between here and Newton Stewart. It's just the drive to Newton Stewart for us. In fact, there's the station right there. That was quicker than I expected. And we have a full 7 minutes, so I think we can slow it down a little early here. For all I know, there could be a red signal at the station for something to leave ahead of us. I don't know. We have to get down to 15 by the station. If we were going 15 right now, we would still be on time. So yeah, we're going to take our time. Ooh, leg. Now that, unfortunately, is something that I can't control. That's a thing with the way the game loads everything. And it's what it's trying to do is it's trying to load the tiles around Newton Stewart. And there's a lot of detail on that tile that is not very well optimized from the looks, sounds of it. So because that does have a little bit of lag loading in, I expect some lag around Carlisle as well, because that's a very, very busy area. And the trains are nothing. I've driven scenarios with lots of trains on them before, but we have a yellow signal, by the way, warning us this could be a red up ahead, which I kind of expected, so we might have a red signal. Let's go down to 15 now. So I do expect lag with Carlisle loading in, but I have no problem with running loads of trains on a scenario. I've been able to drive lots of trains. If the trains are optimized very well, I can have lots of trains, no problem. But I can have the scenic loading can be very, very laggy from time to time, even on medium quality, because I'm only running on i5. I basically need an i7 computer to be able to run this game as efficiently as some other people do, which is a shame, especially because I'm YouTubing it. Need an $800 processor. Anyone help? So we had a distant warning that the signal could be red up ahead. We can see that the looks like we might have one green after all. So we only have one green. I can't have both green. So the arm is up on the main signal. So I'm not going to come to a stop, but because I am early and I'm doing very well for time, I could take the next 3 minutes to get there, no problem. So I might as well just stay where I am, right? I can just stay where I am and I'm a happy guy. But I'll take a little bit of speed for right now. You notice a little bit more lag there. That was, again, a case of something loading around Newton Stewart. So we're going to bring the... You can hear something out the window here. We have a green signal, so let's look behind us. Is that a train over there? Yeah, 25008 is hanging out over there. I kind of mentioned that one earlier, and I guess that was the static train that was mentioned for Whitehorn. I should have realized that, because that's the line coming in. I didn't realize it when I said it. So that indeed is the Whitehorn line junction there. Seeing another train coming up here as well. This is 47293. It's the one I mentioned at Platform 1. We're probably going to go left. Nope, we're staying on this one apparently. That was Platform 1 and this is Platform 3. Is that what I'm seeing? Oh, apparently it is. Okay, cool. I guess there's no Platform 2. I can put the engine beyond the platform, that is fine, so I'm going to move forward to the red signal, if I can. I can pull up to the red signal and then open the doors. Get as many cars as we can on this platform. That'll do. We're probably going to be moved for the start of the next scenario anyway, but in any case, open the doors at Newton Stewart. Let's look at our train. So step 1 of our Christmas Eve journey has been completed. Step 2 will continue tomorrow, so make sure you come back and see the next part of the journey. This is again going to serve as an introduction to the Western Lines of Scotland, but don't worry, we're going to see some other scenarios on it in the future as well. This is just a special series we're doing on the route for right now, for the holidays, because I like to do some holiday stuff for you. I thought I saw a wreath on the front of the train for a second. No, that's just my imagination. Christmas on the mind. But in any case, here we are at Platform 3, I guess, at Newton Stewart. And we're going to continue next time to Castle Douglas. We're just going to wait for the scenario to end. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, evening, or night, whatever it is for your part of the world. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can join the Discord server and all that. And I ran out of things to say, so we're just going to wait for the scenario to end. In the meantime, I am getting some ideas for things I might want to do in the period after this. I'm not going to reveal too much about it right now, but we can talk about that later. Good work so far. We are booked to wait here until 1400. Oh, so yeah, we're starting 5 minutes early next time, but okay. So that should give up plenty of time for a brew. I'm gonna say that's no spelling mistake. They'll probably be corrected on your copy, guys. Anyway, I'll see you next time. The next scenario, I'm gonna have a playlist for Western Lines of Scotland, and this will. I don't know how I'm gonna organize these on the playlist yet, but in the meantime, I'm going to put these 4 scenarios back to back. So when the scenarios are up, you're going to see the next video right behind this one. It'll start in 3, 2, 1.